Spider-Man meets Superman this week, but more importantly, do they kiss? Superman Spider-Man #1 released this week, and sales as expected were up, and away. So no Doomtubers, sorry to say, the market isn't dead. It just needed better fan fiction. In fact, comics are back, baby! Sales are up across the board, especially with non-Big Two publishers like Image and smaller publishers like Mad Cave reporting increases in sales issue to issue, and even launching books like Corpse Night at 70,000 copies. Image is also reporting increases in sales on anniversary titles like Scorched issue 50, clocking it at 150,000 pre-orders. Publishers are calling it historic growth. Retailers are calling it finally catching up on last year's rent. In response, Marvel announced another bold new initiative. Every comic gets its own Spider-Man. And after the runaway success of stuff like DC's Absolute line, publishers are now saying that event-driven stunts like this that spike sales are part of their publishing strategy moving forward. Every event promises that afterwards the universe will never be the same, and they're right, because then you're broke. Fans actually are saying that they're sick of seeing all of these event titles, and they're gonna prove it by buying every tie-in. Uh-oh, putting slabs on the slab. It was reported this week that CBCS is going to be shutting down their grading service in April. It turns out, after they cracked it open, their business model was actually only a 6.0. R.I. Keith. Legendary artist Sam Keith passed away this week at the age of 63. Keith drew characters like they were barely holding themselves together, which, to be fair, is pretty accurate of every comic character ever. Fans have said that they will celebrate his career this weekend by maxing. Daredevil Born Again Season 2 dropped with a very gritty, very dark premiere this week. Critics say it's a back-to-basics approach, which for Daredevil means that he's immediately broke, bleeding, and banging the wrong person. Fans are loving the comic-accurate portrayal of the characters in the series. In fact, the series is going to stay so comics faithful that it's already shipping late and ignoring its own continuity. And finally, Marvel also announced Punisher: One Last Kill, a special arriving on Disney Plus later this year. Judging by the teaser poster, it looks like Frank's going to be taking on his biggest rival ever, skincare. The poster says One Last Kill, but to be honest, I can't tell if that's the name of the special or if that's Disney Plus's plan for your password sharing. All right, let's get to the rest of it. Hey, don't get fucked, gang. Final order cutoff is every Monday at your favorite comics retailer. Think of final order cutoff like buying a concert ticket. This is your ticket that guarantees that you will get a copy of these comics. So this Monday is your last chance to reserve a copy of Absolute Wonder Woman 19, The Ultimates 23, Ultimate Endgame #4, Exquisite Corpses 12. Ooh, look at that sexy cover. Void Rivals 29. Ooh, look at those sexy Sharkticons. Rook Exodus issue 10. In Your Skin numero uno. Youngblood #5. Love that cover A with Die Hard doing the Johnny Drama. Victory! Victory! Batman Wonder Woman Truth #1. Hey, it's Alan Heinberg and Jimmy Chung teaming up once again. They're the folks that gave us Young Avengers way back when I was a young Avenger. Barbarian Behind Bars #3. Heard a lot of good stuff about this series. Death, Fight, Forever. #3. And finally, Harley Quinn 61, specifically cover C. This is the second of 3 cover homages happening during this story arc. This one is an homage to Absolute Batman #1. If you want to guarantee a copy of any of these books when they come out, Monday is your last chance to call your favorite comics retailer and let them know that you want to reserve a copy. Otherwise, you're just fucking yourself. Golly Bob, howdy, was I waiting for the premiere of Daredevil Born Again Season 2, and what a kickoff we had. Disney only dropped a single episode on us. Wow, how restrained of you, House of Mouse. Usually we get at least a couple up top, but the show is so good that I will wait every week for another drop. It is so satisfying. And speaking of satisfying, wow, what an opening episode this was, kicking off with an absolutely bone-crunching fight. Daredevil just running roughshod through this tankard full of guns. Fisk is clearly smuggling arms into the city of New York. Right away, we get into it. Matt is just beating the dog snot out of all of these guys. And we see that he is wearing the DD on the chest. He put it on his chest. This is so comic accurate, and I had been so excited to see how close we could get to that accuracy in Daredevil's costume. And I gotta be honest, I saw it and I was like, oh damn, that logo's dumb. I hate saying that. I love Daredevil. Mark Waid's run is literally one of my top 5 comics runs of all time. I love this character. I love him on the page, but seeing the big DD like that, I was like, oh, maybe Netflix was right. I don't know. By God, the fight choreography on this show is absolutely amazing. I feel myself often just like throwing myself forward on the couch, kind of going, I get so excited. I get so amped watching all of this action. It's so good. And, you know, like the level and the grit of it is unlike any other show that Marvel is producing right now. I mean, it's, you know, one of the only other shows where they're dropping F-bombs. Speaking of effing, wow, Matt Murdock, Karen Page, sitting in a tree, Kissing. I love it. Deborah Ann Wall is awesome so far this season. So is Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. Everyone in the cast, in fact. Kudos to everyone. They're just like knocking it out of the park. I really love everybody just leaning into this show. There's one performance that is really pissing me off, but it's supposed to, and that means that actor's doing their job. I saw a lot of people talking about the black suit for Daredevil here. I don't know if this was actually supposed to be the black suit, like elements of black around the patches of red, similar to the armor he started wearing around the Fall from Grace storyline, Daredevil 319. I believe is the first appearance there, 320, something like that. But regardless, the costume looks awesome this season. That's my point. That opening fight was awesome because it really showed off what Daredevil's powers are, how they work, and exactly what he can do. It's a really dark episode too, with a little bit of levity. Matthew Lillard, great performance here. This man is loose as a goose in a room full of tight buttholes. He's been all over the place recently. He was just in Cross season 2, and of course Five Nights at Freddy's. Here we don't quite know what his role's going to be yet, but he shows up and the government shows up to talk to Fisk about his vigilante trials. And now I had the captions on, by the way, and that was a capital V, capital T. So this is going to be a major theme in the season going forward. I don't think you give it a proper noun if it isn't. And speaking of that scene, we get one of our first ties to the overarching MCU continuity when one of the characters gets a phone call from a Ms. DeFontaine. And if you've been paying attention to the rest of the cinematic universe, you know that that is Valeria DeFontaine, who is just put together the New Avengers and has something up her sleeve in Washington. And whatever it is, it does not seem good. I said earlier that the performances in this show have been awesome. One of them just like infuriating me. Dr. Heather Glenn. Oh my God, I cannot believe the path that this poor person has fallen down ever since the traumatic events of last season. We're watching her cook the books right before our very eyes, falling to the corruption that she thought she was going to rail against. But the trauma that she experienced last season seems to be too much for her. And let's see how far this goes. BABYYYYYYY is back and is not the voice of truth like she was last season. As you know, at the end of last season, she got backed into a corner, and now she's just sort of producing puff pieces that make the Fisk administration look great. However, we also get a little vignette from someone in a Fisk mask with an
altered voice railing on BB's work.
Who is this? My theory, that person is also BB. I think she is too determined a journalist to not try to undermine herself because she knows she's compromised. That's my wild guess for the beginning of the season. Let's see if that pays off. And again, that ending fight was sick. So brutal. Cherry, what is going on with him? He is literally on the edge of life and death. These thugs rip the mask off Matt Murdock to reveal who he is, but it doesn't matter because dead men tell no tales, and all these dudes are dead as dead can be, courtesy of what seems to be Bullseye. Uh-oh. I think we're in for a wild ride this season. I am so hyped. This was an amazing first episode. I'd give this 10 DDs out of 10 DDs, so I guess that's 20 Ds. Congratulations, Double D. You double did it. Okay, but what did we think of this week's comics? Starting off with the biggest release of the week, and I mean that literally, Superman Spider-Man #1. This 80-page behemoth is chock full of comics goodness. Every story in here is at least good, and a lot of them are great. Mark Waid and Jorge Jimenez team up in the main story here, and boy, Waid just gets comics characters. This is the perfect comic to hand to a fan that just likes the characters and wants to read something with them in it. It's not continuity heavy. It gives you all the information you need to know within the pages of the story. You have fun, you get in, and you get out. It's an absolute blast. There's all kind of really cool little homages, like to Spider-Man 33, aka the final chapter, callbacks to old Superman stuff. Also, amazing moments, pun intended, like Spider-Man webbing up Superman to insulate him so that he can save people in a burning building. Just a lot of awesome stuff in the main story. Like I said, the other stories are all at least good and a lot great. The second story is a Tom King, Jim Lee jam starring Mary Jane and Lois Lane, which is really fun. It was really fun to see Jim Lee draw Gambit again, and also they just straight up put Peter and Mary Jane back together for the purposes of this story. DC, you got some balls on you, and I love it. My other two favorites in the rest of the book are definitely the Matt Fraction Steve Lieber story starring Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. I honestly can't believe they published this one. It's insane. It's 5 pages of hilarity, and it really makes me want to go back and reread their run on Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen from a few years back. And then finally, the last story in the book is Punisher Power Girl, and Power Girl goes on a blind date with Paul, and say it with me, fuck Paul. Everybody hates Paul. They even hate him in the story. But the most shocking part of this story is at the end. Per Power Girl's request, Punisher doesn't use any guns in this story, but in the very end, he does get to punish that ass. This story to be continued in Power Girl and Power Bottom, launching this fall. Went a little ham on this one too. I got that Art Adams cover, which is absolutely sick. Just look at them little webby pits. I love them webby pits there. Oh, we got the Adam Hughes because Adam Hughes is just, his illustrations are just gorgeous. You can see that. And of course, I got that J. Scott Campbell variant as well. All right, let's burn through the rest of our books for this week. Skinbreaker, #7. I really like this story, but I gotta be honest, it's not great to read month to month. It's jaw-droppingly beautiful. And the story is really small and self-contained and a little slow. We're getting to the climax of the action in these last 2 issues, but this just feels like one of those books that's gonna read really well in a collected edition. And I hope they make a big-ass collected edition of this one too. Finch was taping 2 pages together and using them as a single page, which is why there's just so much lush detail here. So let's hope we get an oversized edition of this bad boy. Void Rivals 28, we're continuing the Quintesson War, big turning point in this issue. I really liked this. It's one of those middle chapters though. It's hard to really judge a middle chapter of like a 6-part story like this. But if you're on board, I think you're gonna have fun with this issue as well. Absolute Wonder Woman 18, and I opted for that awesome Terry Dodson cover on this one. It looks red online, but it's like more of like a, I don't know, it's like a hot pink red, who knows? But it's awesome. Another great chapter in this book. I loved the face-off with Wonder Woman and Zatanna, and shout out Kelly Thompson for one of the most creative uses of Zatanna's powers that I've ever seen. I got to that page and I literally dropped the book and said, genius! Also, amazing cliffhanger at the end of this issue. So badass, like you'll wanna get up and run through a wall at that final page. It's just so cool. Man, I really dig this book. I know everybody's into Absolute Batman, but I really do think Abso Double Dub is the book of the Absolute line. Harley Quinn 60. Hey, I just bought this one for the homage cover. I'm going to be collecting all 3 of them in this story, but it turns out this book is hilarious. It's a really fun jumping on point. You don't need to know anything that came before it. You just need to know that they are riffing on Harley thinking she's some type of Dark Knight Returns style Batman. A lot of inner monologuing, a lot of silly moments, and it's a really funny script. This sort of spins out of DCKO, not really, but they footnote that, you know, part of the reason why Harley's acting weird is because of the fallout of that event. So you don't really need to read it. You can just pick this up because even Harley isn't sure what's going on by the end of this issue. You'll see what I mean. And finally, Savager #1. This is a really cool book. I love the premise of this. Also, I love any book that opens on Pittsburgh. Can't agree with the sentiment, fuck the Steelers, though. Don't be rude about it. This is another Pocky classic, an apocalypse story. This one, alien parasites crash land on Earth and within hours have basically ravaged most of the living tissue on the planet. So that's not just humans, but also animals and anything else that has like actual. And so decades later, after the inciting incident, we are following the tale of one of the lone survivors who has a parasite embedded in them, but has somehow been able to control it, communicate with it, and have a sort of symbiotic relationship with it. And this guy's goal now is to hunt down all of the lead parasites and kill them all because he thinks there is no life left on Earth, that he is the last living being, or is he? More fun stuff this week. Man, March has been so kind to us comics fans. We have been eating and eating and eating, and you know what? When it comes to comics, I'm never full. And finally, we got my panel of the week. You know, there's always stiff competition when there's a new issue, a skin breaker dropping on the stands, but I gotta give it this week to this gorgeous double-page spread in Superman Spider-Man #1. Jorge Jimenez continuing to show why he is head and shoulders above everyone else in the industry. Look at the composition here. Look at the posing on Superman and Spider-Man too. The way that they're framed across the backdrop of the city. There's even an actually funny Spider-Man quip on the page. This is exactly the type of comics panel that you want when you are going to have as many eyes as they are going to get on this comic. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this video. What another incredible week of comics, gang. Superman, Spider-Man #1, just knocking it out of the park. All of those stories are so fun. You definitely got to check that out. Let me know what you thought about everything that dropped this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all of those fun interactive things that YouTube wants you to do. Click around my page. Check out our other videos. You can even check out Redpool, my attempt to read every issue of Deadpool in chronological order. But we'll see you in the next video. And until then, stay comic coded.